On January 27th of 2019, Iowa defeated Northwestern 32-7 in a wrestling meet taking place in Evanston, Illinois at Welch Ryan Arena. I attended this event. Obviously, as you can tell by the video, that came from the crowd, so I took those videos while I was at the event. And one of the main reasons why I went there was because I was excited to see the match between Spencer Lee and Sebastian Rivera. This would have been a rematch of the Midlands match where Sebastian Rivera beat him 7-3. There was a lot of speculation heading in where Spencer Lee is at right now with his health. Obviously, in the last big win that he had, he did just beat Petrowski of Illinois over the weekend by pin in the third period. And Petrowski's a ranked opponent, but prior to that, he had faced Sean Russell, who had been an All-American at Edinburgh, transferred over to Minnesota. And in that match, he won 4-0, but he never took a shot in that match. Ended up getting a takedown off of a counter shot, and then also had an escape. So it was the 3 points plus the riding time point for the 4-0 win. And I believe, or at least just based off what I'm seeing, that there may be an issue both of possibly like a health issue where he's still dealing with effects of a sickness, but more likely is that right now he's dealing with some kind of injury that he's been wrestling through. So I was wondering if he would go from not shooting against Russell a few weeks ago to dealing with a guy in Sebastian Russell who you have to be able to shoot on if you're going to beat him. And apparently they just didn't feel like he was ready to go. So even though he did just have a big win over a ranked opponent by pin a couple days ago, they decided not to weigh him in. Instead, Perez weighed in for that match. Started off pretty impressive, to be honest. There was a moment in the first period where Perez almost got 2 points on, I believe it was a takedown, where he was in a bit of a scramble with Sebastian. Sebastian was able to avoid it and wasn't in too much trouble, but the match was pretty close. I think it was tied after the first period. Second period, Sebastian started to pull away a little bit, and then in the third period he had a couple tilts that ended up getting him the major decision. So pretty good showing from Perez for him not to give up a tech or a pin to Sebastian Rivera, the number one guy in the country right now, but it's still pretty disappointing that we didn't get to see the rematch with Spencer Lee. So right now, what likely is going to be the case is we will see Lee in the Big Ten Championships in March. Obviously, he'll be there for the NCAA Championships as well. So it's likely that the two of those guys will face each other in both of those tournaments, or at least in the Big Ten, assuming they don't make it to the finals of the national championships. Next matchup was Austin DeSanto versus Colin Valdivez. DeSanto did not wrestle on Friday against Illinois. Paul Glenn came in against Dylan Duncan and actually got the upset there. But DeSanto was in this match, won a pretty dominant major decision at the end. Unfortunately, I had a video about this after his win over Nick Soriano, where he seems to be getting in people's faces after matches. They talk about it as something that he wants to work on. Apparently, he might be getting a little bit better, but even still, this was a match that really wasn't super heated. But at the end of it, he gets a takedown. You can clearly hear the buzzer, and he's still shoving the guy and getting in his face. Not to the effect where he's losing a team point like he did in the last couple of matches, but still a little bit unnecessary from him, and it's something you'd like to see him improve upon. The match after that was Max Murin defeating Alec McKenna. This match was a 4-0 win for Murin. Murin got cut up a little bit in a scramble in the first period. It looked like McKenna was going for a bit of like an inverted triangle choke that you would see in Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu. Didn't quite have it like under the crook of his knee, so I don't know that it was actually choking, but it was still kind of interesting to see that in a wrestling match. But ref ended up stopping it at that point. Doctor got in and cleaned up Murin. Murin went on to win the match with a takedown. Match after that was Pat Lugo versus Yaya Thomas. This was a very competitive match, very tight match. Both of those guys had difficulty getting past head hands and actually getting in on each other's legs. Yaya Thomas almost got a takedown, I believe it was in the third period. Went to review, and it looked like for a moment he might have been behind Lugo, but not for long enough to get the points on review, so no points for him there. And going to sudden victory, Lugo gets out, gets up 2-1. Thomas does not get out, so Lugo ends up winning it in the 30-second time frame where he has to hold his opponent down. At 157, Ryan Deacon was supposed to go against Caleb Young, who was the number 5 guy in the nation, although he had just lost in the meet on Friday against Illinois. Caleb Young, though he was there, did not wrestle. Jaron Glosser did. Glosser is a very good number 2 for Iowa, but he's not Caleb Young. Obviously, he's not a top 5 guy in the nation. So in that match, Glosser didn't really have a whole lot of offense early. Deacon got out to an early lead. Got a bunch of riding time. Glosser wasn't able to get off bottom. Glosser almost got a takedown, went to review. He didn't get the 2 points. I think the refs kind of stopped it a little bit early there and didn't give Glosser enough of a chance to get the 2 because they stopped it while they were still in the middle of a scramble. But either way, while Gloucester was still attacking, he kind of shot in, and as he was shooting in, he got pushed back onto his butt and then turned around and gave up the 2 points for the takedown there, which was enough for Deacon to secure a win there by the score of 6-1. Had the intermission, then at 165, Alex Marinelli went against Tyler Moreland. Marinelli dominated the whole time. Moreland did a good job of not getting turned. He did give up one turn, but for the most part, Marinelli was trying a lot to use that Nelson that he likes to hit. He'd get the position, but he wouldn't be able to turn Moreland. So good job by Moreland not to give up any more bonus points than he did, just by giving up the 4 points in the major decision. The next match, Keegan Shaw, who is now in at 174 in place of Mitch Bowman, who, though he had some decent results at 84 and 97, hasn't really been too successful at 74 this year after Iowa lost Michael Kemmerer for the season with an injury. Keegan Shaw got a big win at Illinois. Had another big opportunity here against Johnny Sebastian. Made the most of it. Got a win 11-6. Sebastian appeared to be a little bit injured. Had a pretty big shoulder brace on. And didn't seem to be quite at his best, but even still, that's a good name to get a victory over for Keegan Shaw. It looks like he might be able to lock up 74 for the Iowa, or for Iowa, and then we'll see how he does at the Big Ten tournament, if he can sneak his way into the NCAAs, or if Iowa's just not going to have anyone at NCAAs at 174 after losing their top guy in Kemmerer. At 84, Cash Wilkie, very dominant, pinned Brendan Devine in 1 minute and 20 seconds. Got a quick takedown and then was able to turn him fairly quickly. Put his back on the mat, had him stuck there for a few seconds, but the ref was trying to find the right angle on it to confirm, and finally did. Got the pin, got the 6 points for Iowa. Jacob Warner. What's been interesting about Jacob Warner is that he had such a really good freestyle, has really good freestyle credentials heading into his time at Iowa, but he hasn't really shown, I think, as much potential as we see there. He hasn't really lived up to it yet, even though he is number 5 in the nation right now. What we've seen lately, he did have the win over Miklas, his actual freshman year. Then there's this redshirt year, which he's in right now, where he beat Miklas again and appeared to injure his knee in that match. No sleeves on for all the guys in Iowa who have different braces on, whether it's an elbow like Max Marin or on the knee like Marinelli or Sam Stoll. And nothing there for Jacob Warner, so you would hope that means that he's 100%, but either way, what we've seen from Warner is he's very good on top, very good at keeping guys down, fairly active, doesn't always get his turns, but off the bottom he's not the best. He's not the best at getting back up, and then at neutral it's not like he's extremely explosive and just hitting takedown after takedown. He'll usually win from neutral, but it's not like he's putting up huge scores from there. That's kind of what happened in this match. He got a takedown, was able to ride his guy out, or ride Jaconis out. Then Jaconis got him down, rode Warner out, but then in the final period, Warner was able to ride Jaconis out and got the 4-2 win. And then in the finals, or in the final match, Sam Stoll at 285 got the win over Conan Jennings by injury default, although it was just about to be a pin at that time. So got a takedown late in the first period to go up 2-0. Very dominant from top, earned a couple stall points even. And then in the third period, as he was cranking Jennings' arm back to try to pin him, and actually getting his back to the mat, the ref blew the whistle right as Jennings had his back on the mat for what may have been potentially dangerous. I'm not quite sure what happened there, but either way, ended up being an injury default at that point. Sam Stoll gets the victory, and Iowa wins the meet by a score of 32-7.